shaking.
We'd be laughing side by side. Darling, I'm thrilled to have you by.
We don't have to do this.
By my side.
As much as I want to. I can wait.
I don't want to wait. I want to feel this with you.
Wherever you are, whenever you need me, just crawl in my arms, and I'll hold you beside me. I want my love to surround you. I want my love to surround you, and I'll just sing it out.
Fast. Who are you texting? That's unbelievably rude after what we just did.
At the start of the movie, we see our hero David, who has a crush on a young woman named Jade. He says, "There was a beautiful girl who was very lonely. 2 years ago, her brother passed away, and since then, she became sad and stopped talking to people." David likes Jade, but now that school is over, he has been waiting for the right moment. David doesn't yet know how Jade feels about him. His friend tells him, "Jade is not for you." We then see Jade with her other brother, and the whole family is taking a group photo. Jade's brother tells her, "Make friends in school and interact with everyone. If our brother were alive, he would have wanted you to make good friends." Meanwhile, David's father approaches him because his son has passed his exams. David and his friend discuss Jade. When David's father sees Jade, he is impressed by her. To get Jade's attention, David's father loudly calls David's name, but David quickly stops him. Later, David and his friend are working at a hotel. One day, Jade and her family come to the hotel. Some books fall from Jade's hands, and David helps her pick them up. David says, "You're Jade, and we went to the same school." Jade also recognizes him. She has an old yearbook and asks David to sign it, which he happily does. Jade's father, Hughes, is a very strict man who likes to keep everyone in line. Jade's brother, Kit, doesn't like this and feels neglected by their father as he isn't doing well in school. Jade always listens to her father. She wants to become a doctor, and her mother, Anne, is very happy about it and asks her if she wants a gift. Jade says nothing about it, but gets an idea when she sees David downstairs. She decides to invite her classmates to her house so she can meet David. She asks her parents if she can throw a party, which her father initially finds odd, but eventually agrees. At the party, Jade invites David, and he gladly agrees to come. While they are talking, a rich young man arrives and refuses to park his car himself. Instead, he drops the car keys and asks someone to park it for him. David's friend gets angry and says, "If you want me to park your car, hand me your keys." The rich young man ignores him and walks away, leaving the keys behind. David's friend gets angry, but David stops him. To teach the prince a lesson, David and his friend take the car and go for a ride. Jade joins them for the ride, and they all enjoy the journey together. When they return, the prince has caused a scene and angrily accuses David of doing all this to impress Jade. As a result, David and his friend are fired from their jobs. However, they don't need those jobs much anyway. When David's father learns about this, he asks if he did it for Jade, to which David admits he did. Later, a party is held at Jade's house, but her father is nowhere to be seen. Jade searches for him and finds him in her brother's room, lying on the bed, missing his son. Meanwhile, David gets ready to attend the party. He wears a coat that belonged to his father, who tells him it suits him well. At the party, Jade looks sad because all her father's friends are there, but many of her friends are absent. David reassures her by saying there's another party happening somewhere else, which is why her friends couldn't come. He then calls the police, reporting noise at his new bar. The police shut down that party, causing everyone to come to Jade's party, including David's ex-lover. However, David ignores her. Jade's father isn't happy about so many people attending the party. Despite this, everyone enjoys the party. Kate suggests playing a dance game, and for practice, David and Jade step outside. Jade mentions that their song is very romantic and they need to rehearse properly. While practicing, they grow closer, but Jade isn't thirsty for water yet. David notices an old car and learns from Jade that it belonged to her brother. Jade's mother tries to start the car, but it doesn't work. The two return to the party and start dancing. Suddenly, the lights go out and they end up in another room where they kiss. Meanwhile, Jade's father searches for her but can't find her. He calls her, and soon, Jade and David emerge from the room, making everyone feel awkward. After the party, David talks to Jade's father, Hugh, who says he didn't like what happened that evening. David responds that he simply wants Jade to be happy. Jade overhears this conversation from inside and feels happy. After her father leaves, Jade meets David again, and the two kiss once more. The next day, Jade's father tells her about her internship. Meanwhile, they hear the sound of a car outside that won't start. David steps in and gets it running. Jade's mother is very pleased, but her father, Hugh, doesn't seem to like David much. Jade's mom, Anne, suggests that Jade join them for dinner that evening. After some convincing, Hugh agrees to the dinner. During dinner, Hugh talks about Jade's future and then questions David about his plans. David reveals that he doesn't intend to go to college. Instead, he wants to work at his father's garage. Hugh assumes that David's grades must not be good, but David clarifies that he excels academically. However, he prefers to live a simple life. He says he doesn't need much money, just a loving girlfriend. Hugh argues that love alone isn't enough. Money is necessary too. David counters by sharing how his parents' love for each other kept their family together. He aspires to have that same kind of love in his life. Jade's mother finds David's words inspiring and mentions that Hugh used to think the same way. After dinner, David leaves for home. Later, Jade calls out to him, asking him to come back quietly once everyone is asleep. David sneaks back in, and their romance begins. The next morning, Jade shows David around her house, sharing stories about her family and showing him photos of her late brother. She tells David how her father took great care of the family after her brother's passing. Hugh later confronts Jade, warning her that her relationship with David will only last 2 or 3 weeks. Jade shares this with David, but he reassures her that he doesn't care about how long they have together. Instead, he wants to make the most of their time and create the best memories. Together, they enjoy various adventures, making the most of their fleeting time together. As their time together comes to an end, Jade asks David to tell her not to leave. David responds by asking her to stay. That night, Jade confesses her relationship to her father and announces that she no longer wants to pursue her internship. Furious, Hugh blames David for influencing Jade and insists that the relationship must end. He plans a family vacation to distance Jade from David. Although Jade is unhappy about it, she reluctantly agrees to her father's decision. Jade secretly calls David to inform him about the situation. When Hugh discovers this, he becomes even more upset, insisting the trip is only for family. However, Jade's mother stands up for her, urging Hugh to let Jade live her own life and not control her. During lunch, Hugh apologizes to David. David, in turn, mentions that he read a book written by Jade's mom and found it wonderful. This leads to a conversation where Jade's mom reveals she had stopped writing, but David's appreciation rekindles her interest in pursuing her passion again. Now, guests had arrived for enjoy, and this made the mother upset. That night, everyone was making and when David ran out, he went to the garage to get more. There, he saw Hugh enjoying himself with someone. Hugh realized that David had seen him. The next day, David and Hugh were talking about it. David told his father that he wouldn't tell Zed about what happened. David agreed to keep it quiet. Later, David got upset and went to a party to change his mood. There, he met his friend with his ex-girlfriend, which further worsened his mood. Then they all went to a park and had fun. David stopped and sent Zed ahead. Zed went home and told her father everything. Her father got angry and said he knew David was bad. Zed begged him to bail out David, and her father set a condition for an internship. Zed agreed to it. Her father bailed David out and told him that whatever was between him and Zed was over. She would never meet him again. David couldn't believe it. Her father continued, saying that Zed was going to take up the internship, and whatever love was between them was just a facade. He added that David couldn't make her happy and wasn't good enough for her. He also mentioned that David's father wasn't good enough for his mother, which is why she had an affair. This angered David, and he punched Hugh, injuring him. When Hugh got home, he showed his injury to Zed. David goes to his friend and tells him everything. His friend says, Jade was not right for you. Your ex-girlfriend still loves you. He reveals that he had called her there. Just then, Jade comes to meet David and sees them together. She gets angry and starts leaving. David runs after her and explains, what she saw isn't what it looks like. Jade notices David's hand and says, you hurt my dad. What did he ever do to you? David replies, if you knew the truth, you would see things differently. Jade becomes furious, and though David tries to calm her, he eventually loses his temper and leaves. On her way home, Jade meets with a car accident. David takes her to the hospital. When Hughes learns about this, he calls David's father and blames him, saying, this happened because of David. David's father defends him. A few days later, Jade visits David at his house, but her father intervenes, saying, my son could get into trouble because of you. You should leave. It's better you don't meet him anymore. Heartbroken, Jade leaves for her internship. Meanwhile, David cannot forget her. He is deeply in love with Jade and constantly thinks about her. One day, David's father notices his restlessness and asks why he's so troubled. David confesses that he can't move on from Jade. His father encourages him, saying, go and bring Jade back. But David hesitates. His father reassures him, saying, I've dealt with people like him my whole life. Nobody can harm me. The next day, David meets Jade's mom and apologizes to her. He asks about Jade, but her mom reveals reveals that Jade has a new boyfriend and is happy with him. She also mentions that Jade will be coming home soon. Determined, David goes to the airport to meet her. When he sees Jade, he hugs her tightly and apologizes. He tells her he has 2 tickets and says, "If you're willing, we can go anywhere together." They kiss and reconcile, ready to start a new chapter together. Tonight, Hughes and Jade's brother were about to run away, and her brother was keeping an eye on his room. A fight broke out between Hughes and Jade's brother, and he left with his girlfriend. When Jade saw this, she got angry and revealed that she was also planning to leave with David tonight. When their father saw David outside, he became furious. Meanwhile, a candle fell inside the house and caused a fire. The father went into the room, and David rushed in to save Hughes, but stayed back to get things. Jade started crying for David, and after a while, David came outside. The father realized his mistake and apologized to David. The next day, Jade was leaving for a new city to continue her studies, and she had forgiven her father. Jade and David boarded a flight together. David took Jade to a beautiful place where her brother was getting married. The two of them spent the night together on the beach, making it a memorable time, and the movie ends here.